Hey, builders. My name's Tyler Clark. I'm CEO and co-founder of Village Book Builders. And I've been asked to talk a little bit more about white savior complex. Now, before I start, I am not a professor in this. I do not have my PhD in this. There are a lot of great books out there that talk about this. I would highly recommend reading those. But I've been just asked to talk about why we need to know as an organization what white savior complex is and what we can do about it. Okay. So again, there's some great TED Talks about this, books. I really encourage all of you to go read those books, to look at those TED Talks, to understand this more completely if you are interested in it. But here's what you need to know with working with Village Book Builders, as we are an international group. So first off, what is a white savior complex? Okay. Better termed would be a Western savior complex. It should be called white savior complex, Western savior complex. Basically, it's the belief that because I'm a Westerner, that I know what to do. Okay. I need to go in and save these poor people in these developing countries. Okay. It's wrong. So let me talk a little bit about the history of why this came to be. I'll talk a little bit more about why that's wrong and how we can combat that. Okay. Because most of our interns are from Western countries, so this is pretty prevalent, and it is something that we are very passionate about not having this within our organization. One, because it's wrong, and two, because it's ineffective. We really can't make the impact we want to make if we have this Western savior complex, and we constantly are needing to check ourselves with this. Okay, so the history of it. So pretty self-explanatory. With how the world developed, Guns, Steels, and Germs, great book if you ever want to read it, basically talks about how European countries were able to develop to the point that they were, to guns and steel, to such an extent that they were able to go out and conquer most of the rest of the world because they had developed so much. It had nothing to do with their intellects, their ability. It had mostly to do with the geographical locations of where they developed, the domesticated animals, and their access to domesticated crops as well. Okay, that's why they developed. But there was this belief going around, and it was very prevalent back in the 1800s, 1700s as well. I mean, up until probably the last 20, 50 years. That Westerners just had a higher intellect. They were more intelligent. Everyone else were savages, barbarians. These kind of beliefs, which, if you discover a group of people in Indonesia that are still in the Stone Age, you might have that belief, right? The interesting thing is, though, when they've done studies with this, with the average IQ of people in Indonesia that just barely coming out of the Stone Age, Indonesia in the highland areas, compared with the average IQ test of someone living in Europe, the people in Indonesia actually have a higher IQ, right? Because if you're stupid in Indonesia, in a culture of the Stone Age, you're dead. In Europe, if you're stupid, you can still be around walking around. Basic as that. So anyway, it has nothing to do with being better in anything. But also with going into these communities because we believe our way of life is so much better, which there are advances in science and education which are better. Right, we don't have the same mortality rate. Knowing about how the body works is a huge power, ability to do. So it's good to understand the history of this, but also understand that our way of life is not better, and there are a lot of things we can learn about them. So why this matters. If we approach international charity work with this mindset that we're going to go in and we know exactly what they need, and we're going to fix this because we're Westerners and we know how it works, you're going to fail miserably. And plus, it's completely degrading to the people in Africa and these developing countries, because they're like, we're not idiots. Like, we know a lot of this stuff too, right? It's very much like, I know nothing about art. I have no artistic ability at all. And if I were to walk into Bob Ross's studio and tell him, like, hey, this is how you do artwork, this is how you make happy trees, it'd be ridiculous. Let them work, and they know better. Bob Ross knows how to make happy trees. People that live in developing countries know more about the circumstances and the challenges they're facing than we do, right? The individual circumstances. So those are some of the reasons why it's wrong. Now, what we can do about it. first off is, as an organization, we always should seek after firsthand experience when we're trying to solve a problem. As much as we can when we're meeting about charity work, we want people from these countries in the conversations. We don't want to come in and think we know best. We need those perspectives. So, on our board, we have people from developing countries that have grown up in this level of poverty, as well as our senior and executive team. We have the same thing, so we can talk. And even when we're trying to propose anything, we always pass our ideas by them. The whole mentor program was developed by Hamas, who's the, I forget his exact title, but he's in the government. He does all the education planning for the government of Uganda. And he basically approached us with the mentor program and said, hey, I think this would really work. We're like, great, how can we help? And we went forward with that. So what you can do about it, first off, just be aware that we all have it and we all need to be aware of it. And second, always have a healthy respect for where truth lies. Now, what I mean by that is always look for truth wherever it is. There are a lot of things when we go to these countries and work in these countries that we can learn from them. There are areas where they are rich, where we are poor. Their ability to have community, of reaching out to one another, and their outlook on life is much more healthy than we have in Western countries. Now, education, helping people know more about the world, those are things that Westerners can help in these countries. Just by providing opportunities. Not that we need to teach them anything. These are just universal laws, and we just share them with them and help them give the tools so they can do so. So I invite all of you to make sure, learn, and really listen to the people that we're working with. The greatest experiences I have ever had is just sitting there with a group of professionals, or a group of teachers, or a group of kids, even in these countries, just sitting there and it's like, hey, I saw this problem. Why is that? What can we do about that? And hearing them tell me, this is what you should do, which a lot of times is completely different than what I thought we should do. And a lot of times I proposed like, hey, I saw this problem. What if we did this? And I present it to my friends and they're like, no, that's stupid, right? Or that will never work. But this will work. And we're like, great, let's do that, right? And really try to listen and see life from a different point of view. Because in order to help people in different countries, you have to understand what it's like to live in that country. And the only way to do that is to talk from people in that country, right? So we all need to have a humble attitude to working. So I hope this was helpful about White Savior Complex. If you have more questions, let me know. But again, highly recommend that you look at TED Talks books, different things to fully understand this. But the biggest thing I want all of our staff to do is to listen to the people there. We have a number of great people in our organization currently: Christopher Citolo, Hamas, Kasifa, Churchill, Lawrence, a lot of great people, Bishwa, Kibita, these individuals that will help us and propose those questions to them, so that way we can get that cultural perspective. So anyway, namaste, Jambo, thank you so much, guys, and hope that was helpful.